Hello, good afternoon. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in this session. My name is Patricia Rodriguez González and he is Álvaro Robel Bellot. We are chairing this session. First of all, we would like to thank all the speakers and the organizers of this conference for giving all the support and also for allowing this session to be open broadcast, so it's open to everyone, not only here but also online. So I also thank the people that is connected online. Running this session is a regular activity of the working group on education and training of the Society of Ecological Restoration Europe. This particular activity started in Iceland in the conference in 2018, and it was highly participative. There was a lot of people interested, and we realized together with the fact that the needs in improving teaching in ecological restoration persist, it would be good to continue this activity. So we continue permanently in the different conferences with this activity. The mission of the working group is therefore to promote innovation in the learning of ecological restoration across sectors and also across the career. So we are really interested also in especially participation of young people, and they are in fact leading some of the activities that take part of this session and later in the field. Also to tell, in this particular session, we collaborated with the Team Up project, which is Erasmus Plus in vocational education. So there was a joint organization of the session. And this group is open, so we welcome everyone interested and motivated in the questions related with teaching, learning, and transfer of knowledge, and especially young people. Because there is this group section called Younger, where it is led by early careers, like Álvaro.
Oh, I'll take that one. Sounds good. Yeah, and as Patricia was saying, I'm here representing Younger, which is a network of SER that just tries to get emerging professionals networking and joining efforts. And as part of the session, we'll be running a roundtable at the end where a panel of emerging professionals will be sharing their kind of like early career experiences and the challenges and opportunities they have experienced in those. We would also like to inform you, we don't know who is joining the Urban Life Cycles project today, but if you are, we will be running a workshop at the end of that, looking at how we can communicate about urban ecosystem restoration in a way that fosters learning. And we will also be having a emerging professionals gathering at the Gunpowder Cellar in Tartu later this evening at 7:30. So if you're around, even if you're not an emerging professional, please feel free to join us for a relaxed evening of networking. And with that, I would like to welcome our first speaker, Carolina Cicala, who will be joining us online. So Carolina, hopefully you can hear me and join.
Yes, I do hear you clear and loud. So I will share the presentation. I hope you will be able to see it. Can you see my presentation?
It's not showing yet, but...
Oh. Okay, maybe it takes some time. Oh, it's sure. What about now?
Okay, starting to show. We see an astronaut in the moon.
Yes, it's a Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's ready. So I will just start my presentation. And the reason why I decided to show you this nice picture of Neil Armstrong landing on the moon is because it's a very nice story behind this. I don't know if you heard already, but when Kennedy, the president of United States, visited the Space Center, NASA, in 62, he just met a man on the corridor mopping the floor, and he just asked, "What are you doing here?" And he just said, "I'm helping to send a man on the moon." And I think it's a really nice story, because the man doing the small thing, he could contribute to the big thing. And that's why I just decided to start with this picture and a short story. My name is Karolina Sikawa, and I am International Coordinator at the Green Academy in Denmark. And today I would like to tell you how we are bridging the skills for green transition. And I will use Danish Green Center of Vocational Excellence, our common dream in building the next NASA within urban greening. So please stay with me. I have a short agenda. I know I have around 12 minutes, but I think I will go through all most important points. Shortly about myself, I work at the Green Academy in Denmark, a small town next to Aarhus, second biggest city. I work as international coordinator, and I do different projects, mobility projects. I send many students abroad. I also receive a lot of different students to our college. Besides, I am also sending staff and teachers, because actually they are very important, and it's really good to give them opportunity to learn something in different countries. I am myself a project coordinator of different projects, Key Action 2 projects, Key Action 3 projects. So I have a little bit of experience. I am also the regional captain for the European platform for urban greening. And this is the main focus for today. Shortly about my organization, because I need to use this opportunity and present the Green Academy. We are a school, a green school, and we are offering the different professions, educations within green area, landscaping, horticulture, agriculture. And we have like 100 employees, half of them, they are teachers, but all in all, we have 550 full-time students, and we have a boarding school for around 320 students. So let's go back to the Center of Vocational Excellence and the time where it started. So EU decided that they would like to come up with the new initiatives, starting the Center of Vocational Excellence and giving the schools, different stakeholders, opportunities to build the Center of Vocational Excellence. And actually, they were doing that without giving any recipe book. And this is actually very nice, because we could do it as we want. So actually, in European Platform for Urban Greening, that is led by Jan Geronimos, project coordinator from the Netherlands, we gather 6 different countries and in total 15 partners. And our focus point, it was biodiversity, climate adaptation, and the social well-being. So we knew that we're going to gather together, would like to do something about the urban greening. We want to speed up the process of making our cities more green, and at the same time, make the students and the workers and the teachers be up to date within the knowledge that should be existing at the market. At the start, it was quite difficult. We knew we would like to do something within the urban greening, but we should find out our foundation. And we actually started with finding our challenges, common challenges. And we found out that we have the shortage of skilled workforce in the green sector, ongoing decline in enrollment for vocational education. Actually, in Denmark, it's a huge problem. Only 18% of the pupils are choosing vocational education. The rest, they are choosing the high schools. All of them, they want to be lawyers, doctors. They don't want to work with their hands. We have also challenges in fostering interdisciplinary collaboration, because we just think green sector should work with green. No, I think it's very important that we combine different professions so we can actually foster the innovation and make it to happen faster. And also, we have lack of documented knowledge about the effects of climate efforts in urban spaces. So actually, we can be very, very surprised that there is not much research done in the cities, big cities. And of course, the cities are changing very fast. They are rebuilding. They want to have more and more apartments. They want to have more and more people living there, but they are actually forgetting about the importance of the green areas. That's why in our project, we gather together, and in this case, I would like to focus a little bit more on the Center of Vocational Excellence in Denmark, because we gather many different stakeholders that have different expertise, but still they have a common goal, urban greening. So actually what we could do in the Center of Vocational Excellence with the different stakeholders, so I could give you some examples, but we can do the education development with a focus on vocational competences and skills, expertise. We need really people that will understand the matter of green, and they will not only do the stupid work, putting the plants, but they will have the knowledge behind. Also, the collaboration on innovation and cooperation of new knowledge. This is also one of the very good example of the Center of Vocational Excellence. Further training of the employees through courses, study trips, internships, so we can do that together. We can do the collaboration on recruitment and retention of the students and employees. Actually, besides attracting the students to vocational schools, we have also a huge problem in keeping them in vocational schools. Many of them, after some time, they decided to leave and try something different. Also, the companies, they have a huge problem in keeping their workers. Very often they are changing the jobs and they are looking for some other challenges. So also the last but not least, it's the development of the teachers, trainers, mentors, and their teaching skills. It's also very important. Our teachers are really the role models for some of the students. So I think they are the very important stakeholders in this chain in order to pass the information from the existing source to the students that are going to take care of the environment. And who can participate in the Center of Vocational Excellence? Actually, there is no limit, because we would like to have different stakeholders that they will come with different knowledge and they will contribute to the urban greening development. So actually we have the vocational schools, also we have primary schools, I didn't mention that. We have universities, we have companies, including small and medium-sized enterprises. We have also research institutions, authorities, and international partners. And here I would like to give you the example of the Center of Vocational Excellence in Denmark and the different stakeholders. In our Center of Vocational Excellence that we are trying to modernize our education, we have stakeholders like the Aarhus municipality, we have a labor union, we have also different companies that are producing different products to build the green walls, green roofs, and other stuff in the cities. We have also via university college, and actually they are very good example of giving the pedagogical background to our teachers, because maybe they will have the professional knowledge, but also they need to be able to pass the knowledge to the students. And you can see the cross, and no worries, no one died. It's because in our cover we have also churches, and you can just imagine or just try to understand why do we invite the churches. But actually the reason was that 70% of the parks in the cities next to the churches, the graveyards, belong to the churches in Denmark. That's why they would like to collaborate with us and make the graveyards that will be a little bit modern. So the people, they will be not feeling only bad coming to the graveyards, they will also have opportunity to pass by and see different plants, insect hotels, and other different modern things that will make them to feel better. So this is the example, but besides the stakeholders in Denmark and how we are collaborating, I would like to give you one very good example of using the Center of Vocational Excellence among different countries. When we started to work on the project, our main task, it was to develop biodiversity course. And this was our need, biodiversity course for the employees that are working in the cities, making our cities green, taking care of the parks. So actually our teachers, they were not having that much knowledge. They were thinking, oh, for the employees, so it must be on very high level. How should we start? And I think it's very important that whenever we do something, we do not start from scratch. It takes too long time. And if we're going to start from scratch, we'll never speed up the way to reach our competitors because they are up front of us. And it's very important we use each other the way that we speed up the process of learning and producing the knowledge. So actually, when we were about to make the biodiversity course, we call our friends all over the Europe and we ask if they already have a knowledge about it. And Netherlands, Finland, they said, yes, we do. We would like to contribute in development of the course, and they sent us a lot of information. They sent also experts. They invited us to take a course, biodiversity course in the Netherlands, and we done that. We sent our teachers and also the employees from the company, so actually they could build the relation from between the schools and the companies. So this is one of the example, is a very good example because the biodiversity course is a very good course we made for many different stakeholders in Denmark. So we really speed up the process by using the knowledge all over our network. So Center of Vocational Excellence, it's really something we should look into and the way how we should collaborate. And you mentioned, Patricia, Team Up. Yes, they are also one of the Center of Vocational Excellence. They are also building own network. And I'm sure that the way how they're going to collaborate and maybe also get experience from other Center of Vocational Excellence, they will be very easily speeding up the knowledge development, and they will really contribute to the changing environment. So I hope you get some impression the way how we collaborate. You can read more on our website. You can send me email, you can call me in case you have some more questions. I will be more than happy to share our experience and the good practices and also bad practices, because we also have sometimes some difficulties in matching the way how we collaborate. Our partners from the companies, they think that in the school, the time it's going very slow, while at the companies, they work a little bit different. So we have two different watches, but they have to remember that we mainly are here to teach our students. And what we do besides collaborating with the companies, it's also important, but still we have to just find the rhythm how we should collaborate. And this is challenging, but I think we will be there. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions, you can ask now, or you can do it later. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you very much, Carolina. We have time for one question for Carolina. Someone would like to make a question? No question? Well, I have one. You mentioned the students are not so willing to study green or put hands in the field. What's the strategies you use to attract students, if you use any?
Yes,
to disseminate.
We use many different strategies, and actually I was talking to our leaders at the Green Academy because they make the statistics, what strategies we use, and we attract most of the students. And actually the collaboration with the primary schools is actually calling the building the bridge from the primary schools to the vocational schools. 97% of our students, they were participating in a 1 week like a course at the Green Academy during they stay at the primary schools. So this is the best option. Talk to the primary schools and talk that vocational education within green area, it's sexy. So it's not only working with the hands, but they can really do something different. So during the visit, we do different research and they can see that it's really fun to work with green.
Thank you very much. So
thank you.
Thank you. We now would like to invite the next speaker. We go to the presential one, Ryan Campbell from the Team Up project. So please, you can go.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Carolina, for the good presentation. It kind of explains what the COVI process is and what a COVI is. So my name is Ryan Campbell. I'm at the Anhalt University in Germany. My accent is because I'm from the United States, but living in Germany and working as the project manager for Team Up, which I'm going to explain this project to you now. I'd like to thank the two project coordinators, Marcus Meyer and Anita Kirmer, who helped write the proposal and get the funding from the European Union for this project. So a little bit of background and motivation for what Team Up is and why we're doing it. So Team Up is, in Europe, we have had, as we've seen in this conference and in the past, there's a collaboration and accumulation of knowledge, nearly 5 decades of knowledge on ecological restoration and skills that have accumulated in a lot of different formats. So we have local knowledge, traditional ecological knowledge, technical knowledge, and of course, scientific knowledge. As we heard yesterday and today, we've talked about multiple political initiatives involved in ecological restoration. We have, of course, earlier today, there was the session on the UN Decade on Ecological Restoration, which we're in the middle of right now. We have, thankfully, the European Nature Restoration Law as part of the EU Biodiversity Strategy, and that's helping guide our initiative at Team Up. On the other side of things, so from where Carolina comes from, is the educational side. So the European Commission is not just pushing from the nature restoration side, they're pushing vocational schools in member states to make that transition to green skills, because there is a need, and there will be a bigger need for green skills and workers to help accomplish ecological restoration projects at local levels and then across the EU. So there's the Osnabrück Declaration, which is basically promoting vocational education and transitioning for green skills and green economy. So that demand for skilled people and the forecasting for that demand of skilled people by implementing the initiatives across industries. So we're working with different industries that are maybe non-traditional stakeholders, thinking about students and teachers and workers of agriculture, forestry, landscaping, and landscape gardening at different EQF levels, so EQF level 4 and 5, which, if you don't know what an EQF level is, it's essentially the European qualification framework that's education levels below the bachelor level. What a previous project called Trainer found out before Team Up is that there was limited knowledge transfer. So the knowledge that we've accumulated in Europe is not necessarily being transferred, both vertical and horizontal transformation. So that's across sectors and regions. So that basically means that maybe the scientists have the knowledge, but it's not being transferred at the vertical level, going down to the workers, and then horizontally across space. So with that being said, so we have this push from the nature restoration side and the push from the vocational education side. And so Team Up is really at that intersection of those two things. And we hope and think that that will be a very fruitful process in this project. So it lasts 4 years. It just started in June of 2023, and it will last until June of 2027. So it's an Erasmus Plus project funded by the European Commission. And the idea, the main goal, is to mainstream practical knowledge on ecological restoration for these vocational students. And also not just vocational students that are younger students, but also workers who want to maybe get a certificate in ecological restoration skills so that they maybe transfer into a new job or into a new field, or maybe perhaps be promoted. So the vision of Team Up, right? So a lot of these projects have these sort of large overarching visions. And the main vision is to aid, and we've heard this in this conference already, and we will hear it most likely again, to aid in the facilitating of upscaling of ER practices, of course at local levels, but then cumulatively building larger ER practices and ecological restoration practices across Europe. The two primary ways we're thinking of doing that with this project is to create and share the knowledge, the tools, and the training, which are cumulatively the resources used to practice ER, both at those horizontal and vertical transformation levels, and also make these resources available on an open educational resources platform. So essentially that means making all of the material open access and freely available. So Carolina talked a little bit about this. I won't spend too much time on it, but what is a COVI, Center of Vocational Excellence? So yeah, this is a European Commission proposal trying to, it comes from Erasmus Plus Key Action 2, basically cooperating amongst vocational schools, scientific partners, and sector partners, so businesses or NGOs, striving for excellence in vocational training. This is basically through a learner-centered approach, focusing on the student or the lifelong learner, bringing together these key stakeholders, so business, science, and the education sector, supporting the transfer of knowledge, and then this can and will contribute to regional development in the pilot project areas, and then hopefully also at a larger scale. And also, the last part about innovation, I think, is important because, as we'll see, there's a demand for increasing the private sector and how they're involved in ecological restoration practices in Europe. And that's one of the things we're going to focus on in this project as well. So the Team Up project has and is in the process of creating 4 centers of vocational excellence. These are not brick and mortar buildings. These are not facilities. These are ideas, essentially, and organizations that cooperate amongst each other with 4 different focuses, or foci. So in Germany, we're working on multifunctional and sustainable land use and agriculture, so the focus on agriculture systems, working with those students. In Norway, the restoration of old infrastructure and ecological compensation and landscaping. Czech Republic is kind of a restoration gradient across from urban to rural areas, so talking about a little bit about urban greening, but also working with farmers. And then in Spain, working primarily with forest restoration and disaster risk. So that's essentially trying to understand how ecological restoration can minimize the wildfire risk and help promote safety. We are 15 partners from 5 different countries, so that's what the Erasmus Plus project promotes, is these large groups of partners in different regions. You can see all the different partners here, so essentially you have the Czech Republic side up here with ProBio, working in the organic farming sector, the university, and then the schools. And in Germany is Saxony-Anhalt, and the Hochschule Anhalt, where I'm at, the University of Applied Sciences. And we have the DLG, which is the German, it's about 30,000 members of German farmers, the Agricultural Society. And then here's a Stiftung of Kulturelle Landschaft, which is essentially the non-for-profit that helps farmers implement conservation practices. In Norway, we have VEA. Oh, this is not working very well. But in Norway, we have VEA and Nina. Nina gave a presentation earlier on mineland restoration. And then HARA is the business working on ecological compensation. And in Spain, we have El Palmaral and SIDA working with the University of Alicante, actually SERE. And Jordi Cortina is working on this project as well with a forestry company called Agresta, and they're working on forest restoration. And SERE is a big part of this project as well for dissemination in the future, which we'll see shortly. So filling knowledge gaps. So I just wanted to provide 4 examples, really, 2 slides of what we're doing to actually integrate ecological restoration knowledge into the vocational curricula, so into the teaching. So in the Czech Republic, we're working on course additions to a program, Design of Urban Greening. This school is also involved in that program that Carolina referred to, the Urban Greening Project. So they will be adding courses on ecological restoration, so basics of ecological restoration, methods of restoration, and then also some different aspects with case studies and so on at the regional level. In Germany, they're kind of doing it differently. So the vocational school has mandatory English lessons. The English lessons will be taught to all of the students, but the topic will be ecology, basics of ecological restoration. And then they'll have an option, a non-mandatory course to learn the methods of ecological restoration. In Norway, the school VEA is they're creating new courses. We've heard a lot about in Norway the need for flower meadow restoration. It was a big topic yesterday on seeds. One of the courses is going to be creation of new courses and peatland restoration, river and stream opening. And in Spain, we're looking at a comprehensive review. So they did a comprehensive review of existing courses, precision insertion of educational content, and then they're essentially going to get a cumulative training of ER and ecological restoration. So restoring ecosystems with skills ecosystems. So I go to these conferences sometimes with vocational schools and vocational education practitioners, and they use skills ecosystems as a word, as a buzzword, really. So learning by doing. So we're actually also going to create restoration demonstration sites at the schools or nearby the schools so that the students can actually get their hands dirty, can learn how to do site preparation, implementation of the restoration plan, working with different biota, managing for biodiversity in the long term, and then working on monitoring protocols and processes. There's international knowledge exchange so that some of the students will actually go to say for example, the students from Germany will go to sometimes Norway or Spain, and they will learn at an international level of how they're doing their ecological restoration and so on. A part of the project is also digital skills innovation, so we have experts in virtual reality and technology, so building up digital skills, which is another high-end requirement of one of these projects, the Erasmus+. So they were creating virtual demonstration sites. So the ones they're creating out in the field, we will also virtually demonstrate so that the teachers and the students can wear the goggles or the Google Cardboards and get an idea of how you might restore and why you might restore in the classroom, sort of an immersive experience without being out in the field. Ecological restoration as a business model. So we talked about scaling up in the private sector. One of the foci of this project is also looking at business models. And so one of our working groups did a market analysis in the past year showing the added value of ecological restoration as a business model. So they're looking at the main effects, or the main results were that the local and regional small to medium enterprises dominate the market right now in the 4 countries, but the potential for upscale is big and real. There were sectoral niches and model niches, so business to government and innovation potential is high, so that's good for us. And they also showed different case studies in each of the countries of how students, if they wanted to create their own businesses or be a part of a business in ecological restoration, what the challenges were, the success factors, and trends. So what's the market demand for the green skills? In the future, they're going to create an ideathon, which each country will have an ideathon, which is essentially a moment where all of the groups get together in one country to generate innovative ideas and feedback and have career opportunities, key resources for new startups and new companies. So we're transferring this information then also to the curriculum so it can be taught over time. I'll skip this graph right now, but essentially it's main opportunities for products and services. I'm running a little short on time. So the last thing I wanted to say was just removing barriers. Essentially, we talked at the beginning about this being open educational resources, so open access. So all of the material and all the things we're doing will be created and refined to be hosted by, hopefully, we're working with SER International as well as SER Europe to promote and host this material into what we call a digital ecological restoration toolbox, or a DIRTO. So this is teaching material and curricula that can be downloaded and modifiable. It'll be in English as well as the national languages, and then other countries or other vocational schools that are interested can have free access to this site. So there's removing barriers of cost. We'll have the virtual reality demonstration sites. Again, the plan for hosting to enhance the skills, and then at the end of the project, we're hoping to have certification of course completion, so a micro-credential in ecological restoration so that these workers can increase their skills and increase their mobility. I would just like to thank you for your attention and just say, join us if you'd like. I've already talked to 3 different people at this conference from 3 different countries that would like to be interested in scaling up this project. We're looking at maybe increasing funding in the future to make it larger and expand across the EU. And look for us at the SERE website. The project is already there, and yeah, thanks for your attention. And I'd like to thank all of our partners, most of them pictured here from across the countries. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I think we don't have time for a question, or? Okay, so maybe one question.
Thanks for your very informative presentation. My question is related to the balance between everything open access and the intellectual property rights on techniques and so on. Have you looked also for patent situation and things like that in this market? Thank you.
Sure. So the question was about open education or open access and then copyrights and intellectual property, right? So as we create the educational curricula, we're very much aware that this will be open access, and so we're using things in Creative Commons or other open access platforms, so there's no issue with copyright. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to invite the next speaker from Eurosite, Harm Schrotten. Okay, thank you. Yes, of course, of course.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ryan, for a very interesting. I think we, Eurosite, would be interested to connect with Team Up, because I think we have a bit of work in parallel. Maybe our target groups are a bit more the middle career professionals, but very interesting work what you do. So thank you for your attention. My name is Harm Schoten. I'm director of Eurosite. I have a bit of information for you about Eurosite, because I think it's relevant for you. Because Eurosite is the network of site managers in Europe. So we have members in 26 European countries. We already exist for 30 years. And so we really represent the site manager community. So that means the people with the boots on the ground. And so sometimes we say we represent 10,000 site managers. We have a very small staff, 12 staff, and we have 9 strategic partners. And one of the partners is the SERE Europe. So we're very happy with that, and already for a long time period we now and then exchange with the Society of Ecological Restoration. What do our members do? Our members do the work in the field. Yeah? So they stand in the field and have to deal with all the conservation objectives. And so what Eurosite is doing is connect these people all over Europe, trying to make them exchange their experiences. So this is the network of our partners. These are also scientific institutions as well, and also private organizations more and more, because we make a bridge more and more to the private sector. So what is our vision? What we really do is connect competence in conservation. And our mission is to develop a strong community of restoration practitioners. And that means that we deliver a couple of services to our members as Eurosite, and well, you can see them here. We organize a lot of study tours, like Team Up does. We do with experienced site managers or landowners. We bring people from one area to another area. We organize grazing study tours. We organize remote sensing workshops, etc., everywhere in the field. That's what we love to do. And of course, we also have the broker role, because we, together as a community of site managers, we try to find funds in different directions. And actually, we're quite successful at that. And what really is at the heart of Eurosite are the thematic international working groups. So we have, on these themes, we have our current standard working groups. And yeah, for me, they are the heart, because here you have the international experts, the scientists, and the site managers coming together and exchanging information on these topics. I will only tell you today a bit about the first one, the Economic and Ecosystem Services Working Group, because we have a very nice, probably vocational education program we did this year. We are doing this year with this group. which is an Erasmus Plus project, and it's under the lead of Natuurpunt, which is the Belgium site managers organization. Wageningen University is partner, Eurosite of course, and we have partners in different countries like the Netherlands, Ukraine, Croatia, all from the Eurosite membership. So what did we do? We organized, supported by Erasmus, international course on ecosystem service and benefits. And yeah, maybe a personal story. Last month I was in Namibia for a month, and when I came back yesterday, this was on the news. There's so much hunger and also starvation in Namibia that people and the government currently are starting to kill animals because they need food. And well, that's one of you can be very cynical, that's one of the services nature provides. Food for people is a provisioning service. Of course, it's really sad that also threatened species, also like rhinos, are killed for that, but it's apparently a necessity, and we would like to see that changed. And also the government and the international community and the United Nations are currently helping Namibia. For me, it was a game changer to travel to Africa and see this situation there. So what is the problem for a lot of people? I'm going a bit to the high level, is that most decisions in our society are based on incomplete information, especially regarding nature, because the true value of nature is not incorporated in our economic system. So that's what we learned and discussed and negotiated in this course. Yeah? So we lose a lot of money because we don't incorporate all the value that is there already. And a very simple estimate, when you look at Natura 2000, the cost estimate is something like 6 billion per year. It should be updated, I think, but it might be something like that. And when you look at the benefits, and there are a lot of studies, case studies, but also the larger TEEP studies and studies from the European Commission, which show that the benefits of nature, all the services that nature provides, are 3 to 7 times higher than the costs. In our day-to-day talk, we don't think about these things. We always forget the value of nature, the true value of nature. A very simple example is the apple. Usually the conventional apple is cheaper than the organic apple. And the simple thing is that the externalities, so the extra costs, are not included in the conventional price. So that system needs to change. And all over the world, people are working on that. And I want to show you a short video, if I may. If it can start, I hope the technicians can help. Yeah.
They say the best things in life are free. Feeling beach sand on your toes, watching a spectacular sunset, a hike in the forest. From the clean air we breathe to the food we eat, we've always treated nature's resources as endless and free. Today, we are paying the price with climate change, pollution, and mass extinction. For the past 75 years, we have been measuring our success and well-being in the dollars and cents of the gross domestic product, GDP, while letting nature pick up the tab for our pollution, deforestation, and degradation. This year, we begin to change all that. The UN Statistical Commission is set to adopt a new framework to go beyond GDP and to finally make nature count. With this framework, every country on Earth will be able to measure their natural capital and understand the immense contributions of nature and the importance of protecting it. The framework will help policymakers realize that forests mean more to us when they are healthy, that it makes more sense to protect our planet for tomorrow than to cash out today, and that fresh air, clean water, and a livable climate are not infinite and need our care and protection. Watch closely as we begin to make nature count.
Well, let's work on that. Thank you. So that's why we worked on this ecosystem services training. And it's a very simple story, 3 modules. First, learning the basics. So we had one of the frontrunners, Professor Dolf de Groot from Wageningen University, who taught the participants all about the theory behind it. Then we put it into practice. So every participant took one of his own nature reserves or issues and made a calculation of the value, the monetary valuation of its own situation, and then starting for future action. So this was the in-person group, and we had also an online group because people from Ukraine couldn't come to the course, of course. And we learned about the basics first. I'll go over this a bit quick. You have all these different kind of ecosystem services here in the picture. It's very interesting to define which are the different types of ecosystem services that nature provides. And well, this is a very famous picture of the different steps you have to take to make an economic assessment of your situation. So in the middle you see the monetary valuation and the economical analysis. And you can say, well, is it worth it? Because nature is you can also tell the story, what I learned in this course, I was a participant myself, is that it's very useful to have this knowledge so you can use it in your communication. I have a few examples. We did a quantification of the ecosystem services, which is quite complex. What is the contribution of water retention and how do you value it? So we have a lot of data available. There's a large database which is free accessible to find data on the ecosystem services values. I would recommend to you to use it in the future. So what we did is we put it into practice. So you could use nature benefits and the concept of nature benefits in a lot of things. For example, in your funding applications, in your project management, in your communication to various stakeholders. Yeah, thank you. And so this year we held the course internationally in English, and we will also do the course in 5 languages this year, and we want to continue with this course together with Wageningen University in the upcoming years. So take a look at the website of Natuurpunt or Eurosite to see if you're interested in this topic. And for today, we already know how to use the information we learned in the course in our daily communication. And one example is very funny. This is the value of a Serbian nature reserve, a rather small Serbian nature reserve, and the people there used it to explain to the community that their nature reserve is 140 times a large, expensive Mercedes, which is much more understood by a major than just the number. Yeah? So it's a way of communicating. Another way is to do it like this. You have 1 square kilometer or 1 hectare, and you show all the ecosystem services on your sign when you enter the forest. Another one is to just explain the value of nature, biodiversity, insects, hedgerows to your crop production. And for the urban greeners, of course, in Las Vegas you already have the oxygen bars where for 15 minutes you can buy fresh air. Well, that's what nature preserves. So use these kind of stories in your communication. So my main takeaway for you today is stop seeing money spent on nature conservation as a cost, but see it as an investment. I think most of you do already, but we need to articulate that story to others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are a little bit out of time, so maybe we switch to the next one, because next part is on flash presentations. So I will invite the next speaker, Celia de Llanos, is here. Yeah. Hello, thank you.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Celia de Llanos, and I'm going to talk about utilizing network analysis to characterize the ecological restoration community and enhance the knowledge exchange. First of all, thank you for Universidad de Alicante and Team Up for being here and try to explain to you what we are doing. So, what's Team Up and what are the objectives? Ryan just have a presentation about this, but short long story is an Erasmus project aiming to integrate ecological restoration into BED programs and develop this online and free accessible course. So as you know, the European Erasmus project has like different work packages. So this one is like the work packages 6 that we are doing the characterization of the ecological restoration network. So we are developing a methodology to characterize this network. In the first place, we are established a framework with the one we are working, and we have taken the quadruple helix of innovation framework that we are taking into account the private sector, public sector, academia, and civil society and NGOs. So we have this holistic vision of the society, and we have taken into account everyone in this methodology. After that, we establish the selection criteria. So we include a balanced representation of the 4 helices, and we are taking into account also, like, for example, equality, gender, and everything else. After that, we have designed an online survey to send it to all these people that we have selected. We are collecting that data from them. And finally, we are doing the analysis of the network. So right now we are in this step that we are collecting data. In this data collection, we send it to the participants, so they have to fill out the participant information, so their own information. So which sector, what is the name, who is the one who is filling out the form. And also we are asking them to fill out the network information, like their own one. So we are asking them to fill out for individuals and organizations they interact with, the sector in which they belong, the frequency of the knowledge exchange and the other interaction exchange, the importance and the reciprocity. Like, we don't have now the results because we are doing not the data collection, but we have been studying like parameters that we want to take into account, like, for example, network size, the degree, the centrality, the network density, or the modularity. So when we have all this information and do the metrics, we will expect results like examine social dynamics, revealing underlying structures, and see how is the network doing. I forgot to mention that, like Ryan told, we are working in 4 countries, so we are doing this network like in Spain, Czech Republic, Germany, and Norway. So we are doing this like 4 times for each country. And before I say thank you for your attention, this is an open project, so I invite you to reach out if you want to share your data or want to participate if you are from Spain, Czech Republic, Germany, or Norway. Or if you want to receive the results, or if you know about this network and see how we can like do it better. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Maybe we have time for a fast question. You were very fast. Someone have a question? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. So maybe when you will have finished your work, do you think that it could be made for other countries or even at the European level?
Yeah, I think so. We are working like in more community or like territorial national thing, but I think that it's a methodology, so you can like upscale to other more European or other countries or downscale.
Or even at regional scale, it could be.
Yeah, of course.
Very useful, I think.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will invite our next speaker is Crystal Moore. She is a PhD student and she will speak about carbon footprint calculators. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Crystal Moore. I'm a PhD student at the University of Barcelona, and I'm working on the SERE project. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the influence of carbon footprint calculators on behaviour change. There we go. Okay, so the SERE project is a large-scale forest restoration project, and it was basically developed under the knowledge that tree planting is the most cost-effective way to sequester carbon. But we don't just focus on tree planting, we're also focused on education. Okay, I'm not going to use that. We're also focused on education. So we want to educate future generations to ensure sustainable climate action into the future. So that's primarily where my research is based, in the education section. Okay, so a little bit of background about behaviour change. So this is the widely accepted behaviour change wheel, which basically talks to the different factors that need to be present to facilitate behaviour change. So if you look in the green middle section of the wheel, you can see that in order to change behaviours, you need 3 factors to be present. So people need to be motivated, they need to be capable, and they need to have opportunities presented to them. So then in the second wheel, the red one, these are the intervention functions that can be used in order to facilitate that behaviour change in the green middle of the wheel. So where the carbon footprint calculators fit into this are primarily in the education, incentivisation and training section. So of course, in order to change their behaviours, people firstly need to be made aware of what the impact of those behaviours are. Okay, so how did I do my research? So we conducted 2 carbon footprint calculator workshops. In these workshops, we got basically we guided participants through completing a carbon footprint calculator. They then obtained their carbon footprint for a 12-month period. They were given that information both overall, so overall tonnes of carbon emissions throughout the year, and that was also broken down by category so that they could see where their highest and lowest emission categories were. We then conducted a quick survey of 10 questions, and we got 153 valid responses to our survey. So these were the results of that survey, and as you can see from all the green, it was overwhelmingly positive. So people found the information gained from the calculator useful, they foresaw opportunities to reduce their emissions, their understanding and knowledge of greenhouse gas emissions increased, they pledged to take other actions such as tree planting to offset their emissions, and they said that they would transfer the knowledge learned into other areas of their life. Now, we did also collect some demographical information such as age and gender, and we used those variables to conduct some statistical analysis. We found that there was a statistical significance between gender for the opportunities to reduce emissions. So women were more likely to say yes, men more likely to say no. We also found both age and gender statistical significance for the mitigation question. So older people and women were more likely to say yes to wanting to participate in tree planting initiatives, for example. We also asked some more open questions. So we asked whether people expected their carbon footprint to be higher, lower, or on point to the global average. Most people expected it to be lower. We asked in which categories people would reduce their emissions. Most people said the home category. And we also asked into which areas people were transferring the carbon footprint knowledge. Most people were transferring it to family and friends. We did also find some statistical significance relating to the age variable in this last one about where people are transferring that carbon footprint knowledge. Basically, younger groups were more likely to share this information with family, friends, and community. And older groups were more likely to share it to a really wide range of groups, including family, colleagues, and friends, but less likely to communicate with friends and neighbours. Okay, so what were the key findings? Basically, we found that engaging in a carbon footprint calculator inspired participants to minimise their environmental impact. We also found that knowledge of greenhouse gas emissions increased, and that participants were willing to change their behaviours after participating in these workshops, particularly in the home category. Okay, that's all. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Crystal. We are going to pass to the next speaker, and then if we have some time, we go back to the questions, okay? So we will invite now our next speaker, Sébastien Gallet from the Université Brest, I guess.
Okay, so something quite different because no, this doesn't move. Of course, it's important to make sensibilization and training for politicians and things like that, but we need also professionals to make ecological restoration. Professional in the research, professional in site managers, nature conservationists, and things like that. And for this formation, there is some needs. And one of the needs, one thing important, maybe it's obvious, but sometimes obvious things have to be said. It's really important to go on field and to meet, to organize a meeting between students and professionals. So why? Because when you work in ecology, you want to be an ecologist, you need to learn many things in the classroom, theories, the concept in ecology. You have to be able to make experimentation on the field outside. House glasses? Oh no. My English is very bad today. It's too tired after 2 days. So you need to make experimentation, to know the methods, to acquire the data set, to make statistics and things like that. So all these things, you can learn them in the classroom. But there is many things that you can't learn in the classroom. When you make ecological restoration in the real life, you have to deal with many things. You have to deal, of course, with the technical aspect of the restoration, to deal with the relationship with partners, sometimes with a lack of money, the lack of time, to local opposition, political agenda, some problem in security. So, of course, not only bad things, but the real life is not only in the classroom, and you can't learn that in books or in conference. So, us as teachers, we have to manage to make our future students, who are the future professionals, to meet the field, the reality of the field, and to meet professionals. Well, it can be in different contexts, like in a conference for more scientific aspects, and we would like to have our students this week here, but it was not possible due to grant problem. So you can go to conference and you have to go on the field to meet people, not only to make field surveys, but only to discuss with professionals. For example, in our master, which is Conservation and Management of Biodiversity, along the 2 years of formation, we have about at least 6 weeks on the field. Half in Brittany and half for field surveys, and the other half for only to meet, to discuss with people, to understand what is the reality of a job. And we try to go with them at least at one national or international conference. So it's not so easy to organize this field trip, and maybe our colleagues at you are on holidays, you are going in Estonia and things like that. No, it's not holidays. And to organize that, you need many things. You need first time and a flexible agenda, because sometimes professionals are not available, and you have to change the agenda and say, oh, tomorrow we won't be there, or next week we'll be somewhere. And so you have to be flexible. Of course, you need money. You need money because it costs quite to travel. For example, for us, 1 week in Strasbourg, it's at We go everywhere. It's about 1,000 kilometers from Brest. It costs for 16 students a bit less than 4,000 euros. It's expensive, but not so much. Because if you compare to some experimental courses, animal physiology and things like that, it's as expensive than that. And maybe it costs less than some communication videos and things like that. For example, our budget for each year is 15,000 euros for about 30 students, so 500 euro per student is not so much. Of course, you need the support of your administration and for your colleagues for flexibility, notably. You also need some energy because it's not so easy to organize that. And you need to have motivated students. And for here, you have young students, which are no more so young, and 2 of them are in the conference today. Maybe we will recognize them. And as important, you need open mind and welcoming stakeholders who agree to explain what is their work, real work. You don't need communication officer will present a perfect program, everything is very good and no problem and things like that. You need to have a real discussion, professional to professionals. And for that, you need network. You need network with your former students, and you need network like Rêver, for example, or SERE when you are not in France. And if possible, you need nice weather and good food, and then you can have something very interesting and good also. That's all for today.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. We are going to move, and if we have a little bit more extra time, we keep the questions. We are now moving to the online presenters again. We have a presentation by Agustín Merino, will be presented by Pablo Souza. So we expect to see it in the shared screen.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patricia, for your presentation. And thank you very much for the organization, for this invitation, this little window. I apologize on behalf of Agustín Merino, who could not be here today. And I'm Pablo Souza, and I work with Professor Merino at the University of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And today I'm going to present the work entitled Service Learning Approach to Improve Training and Awareness on Soil Conservation. Well, first of all, in this presentation, I will use fire as an example of disturbance. And we come from a region where fires are recurrent. The factors are multiple: poor land management, rural abandonment, large areas of monoculture plantations, summer drought, etc. And all these factors act together to make our region the region with the highest recurrence of fires in Europe. And the fact is that we know the reasons for this fire. The factors I just mentioned, we also know how to prevent them in terms of including fire breaks, the introduction of herbivory, native forest conservation, prescribed burning, etc. We also understand the damages they produce to the environment and the risk to lives and the economic activity, the serious erosion problems, loss of nutrients and diversity, water and air pollution, and etc. And finally, we also know how to reduce these impacts through post-fire interventions or ecological restoration. But fact is, we have seen in the last years a trend of increasing fire activity. So this graph is a trend for the national, for the Spanish territory. But if we know the impacts of fire, we know about prevention. We have a legal framework also that protects. What is the problem? Well, considering that more of the 8% of fires are intentional or caused by negligence, it seems clear that the human factor represents the biggest problem and perhaps the critical point where we should act. And we introduce restoration into the equation, the problem becomes even more complex because less than 1% of the burned areas are restored nowadays, and probably because restoration is very expensive as our colleague said before, it's not expensive, but do not present short-term economic return. And the benefits also are not fully considered. For all these reasons, we launched a regional project called Plantando Cara al Fuego in 2016, Facing Fire in English, and to improve citizen education and training regarding forest fires. After 3 years, we launched a national project that is actually working in more than 60% of the Spanish territory. And 1 year later, the project becomes international through an Erasmus Plus project that includes countries from different Mediterranean regions, as Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Greece. And in all these cases, these projects were based on service learning. And well, what is service learning? To understand the core of this project, we have to understand what service learning means. Service learning is an educational methodology that, well, it is complex, and I'm not an educator properly, so I will give you an example of our projects. In our case, university students develop projects based on topics of their disciplines, putting into practices what they are actually learning in the classroom. So these projects are aimed to solve real world problems that usually occur in their environment, and pay attention within the context of a subject. So as our other colleague said before, this learning is included into the curriculum. So it's not like volunteering or something else, some really various activities, but that are not usually included in the curriculum. One of the most interesting aspects of this service learning project is that the collaborations are also established between students from different disciplines, as biology, forestry, or environmental sciences, but also audiovisuals, economics, journalism, and also different relevant actors are included in this project, including associations, forestry companies.
If you can
and communities.
finish, it's close to the time.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, some examples can be forest fire soil protection activities, restoration interventions, silvicultural techniques. Well, many different topics that are covered. And during these years, we have developed more than 40 service learning projects in 15 universities, over 100 stakeholders, 100 teachers, 500 students, and 2,000 people directly affected, and communication that reached over 200,000 people. And we are trying to extend these activities beyond this project by introducing service learning in the university system, also in the secondary students, and developing a wildfire education group. So thanks for your attention. We have published just 2 papers in the last 2 years regarding the use of service learning for ecological restoration and forest fire management. I invite you to take a brief look of this, and well, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Pablo. We are now moving to the next speaker that is online, I guess, Jafit Brenner.
Yes, it's pronounced Jafit. I'm just sharing my presentation. So, hi, everyone. My name is Jafit. I'm from the Septial Ecology Lab in Ben Gurion University of the Negev under the supervision of Yaron Ziv. We are in Israel. And here I will show you how we use our research work for integrating philosophy of science and conservation biology in high school education as part of a large ecological restoration project that is being done in our lab. Our study area, as you can see it on the map, is around tin phosphate mines at the Israeli Negev. It started with about 365 square kilometers of mining, and today it operates over 134, which are colored in purple. The mining by digging holes in the ground had started during 1951, but only in 1991 restoration has begun, being landscape oriented. That means the spotlight is on the scenery with no consideration about the biology and the ecological traits of the area. Today, an ecological approach is being used. When started digging a hole, the operative topsoil is put aside and it's used for covering a previous hole, thus feeding it with the biotic and abiotic traits of the upper layer of the soil. But is this an ecological restoration? Is it ecologically efficient?
Sorry, Jafit, we see black squares in your screen. The colleague went with the technicians to see what's happening because we cannot see the full slide. There is like a square,
is it
black
better?
square. Yeah, now
is it better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, so I'll quickly, so what I showed you at the beginning, this is the area located on the map. Some photos from the location, and a short demonstration about taking a topsoil, putting it aside, and then covering a previous hole and feeding the restored area with biotic and abiotic traits. Okay, so I ask, is this an ecological restoration? And this is a long-term and ongoing study in our lab. And we take this question and we pose it to high school students in biology and environmental science as part of the matriculation assignments. The students are from the 11th grade. They live in cities and Bedouin villages just close to the mines. We're talking about teenagers that are less than a 1 hour drive from the mine. So we're talking about their backyard, their own backyard. And how we actually do it. The work is set over 3 days. In each day, they experience a different part of the scientific work. The first day is an introductory day, where they get to know how to conduct a scientific research, what is ecological restoration, and they're designing their own short-term research. They're actually asking the question, are the natural and restored sites the same? Here on the left, you can see a natural habitat, a location that haven't been disturbed at all. While on the right, you see a restored one. You see them side by side and the differences are easy to spot. The second day is a field day where they get to learn about the desert. This is their own backyard, the scenery that they see when they go out from the house and from the cities and villages. They're also being familiarized with the local biodiversity, either by bird watching or scorpions identification. And of course, they are conducting their own short-term research. The third day is a concluding day where they go back to school with the data that they have collected. They're analyzing it. They're comparing the observed results with the predictions. They are writing their own reports aligned with scientific outlines, and they're deducing their own conclusion. Was the restoration ecologically efficient? By doing this, we're sowing the seeds of our future scientists. We create curiosity, we give them scientific approach, we let them know about ecological orientation and about ecosystem restoration, and we create awareness about the environment and sustainability. We are also sowing the seed for future managers, stakeholders, and decision makers, and actually for every decision that they might make. Thank you all for listening, and of course for all the associates who allow this to happen.
Thank you very much, Jafit. Excellent. We are going to move to the next presentation, to Milena Holmgren. Thank you.
Do this. Yeah. So welcome everybody. I tend to do that, move too much. No, this is fine. So our work is pretty much complementary with the presentation we just heard. All of us in this room are preoccupied about education, and we all think that education has positive effects in the way people perceive nature, in the way people behave, how environmentally friendly they are in their everyday life. This is a big assumption. We basically think that through environmental education we can shift people's perceptions of nature, the visions they have of nature, and that this eventually will change the way they behave towards nature. We tested the plasticity of young children exposed to environmental education in an environment very different than the one in Israel. We worked in the wetlands of the coastal wetland of Venice with younger children. They were about 11, 12 years old. And as the previous talk, we brought those kids to their backyards, in this case to the lagoon, for a whole day in which they did things with their hands. They worked also in small teams. They asked questions. They looked at gradients, environmental gradients, both natural and human influence in their backyard, in the lagoon. They did this with a boat excursion, took data in the salt marshes, played the whole afternoon after a wonderful lunch. As the previous talk said, it's very important to have good food in these things. And we also gave them a small notebook to write their impressions. We assessed 3 dimensions of people's visions of nature. The first one is the normative one. How do we see in relation to other beings? You can see on the left, you have a very hierarchical Aristotelian vision of nature with people on top, and the other one is a very inclusive, circular image where humans are not much different than invertebrates. Most of the kids have a nature center. 75% of the kids have a nature center view of their world. But this vision of the world is quite inflexible. After the excursion, we measured these dimensions of visions of nature before and after the environmental education, and you see that they remain practically the same. Kids that have a more human center with people on top, very important, they tend to change to a nature center, but only 1/3 of them. They are quite inflexible. We also measured the associations they have with nature, the emotional dimension, in different ways. And what you see, indeed, that this dimension of nature is very flexible. Most kids switch from very human-centered views towards or negative emotions to very positive ones. This is a word cloud is very evident. But the ones that they do this shift, are mostly kids that already had a nature-centered vision. We didn't change much. We reinforced. The third dimension that we measured was the cognitive one, so how much you know of the environment. And we were interested in highlighting the importance of ecological interactions to have a holistic view of nature in Venice, because we are involved in a big ecological restoration project. So we asked them to find those connections in the previous image. And you indeed see that after they have been in the field, that they have played ecological networks, they shift and they recognize much more connections, as the colleague from Spain is looking at. So basically, we learned these 2 things. We learned that environmental education has very strong effect on positive emotional associations and have effects on learning, but that these effects, you see, they are attached to the normative vision of nature. So they occur in children that already have a nature-centered vision of nature. And this is important because it indicates that we need to be aware that kids already 10, 11 years old are quite inflexible in other aspects of their vision of nature, the normative one, and that we need to work with kids much younger than 10, 11 years old. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring presentation. We have to move straight away to the round table, and it's now Alvaro and Bruna on charge, so I will pass to them. And I invite the panelists to they are younger, speaking about the challenges in the career. Welcome.
Thank you, Patricia. So if I can get Caroline, Artur, and Ryan to join us on the stage, amazing. And you guys can take a seat over here. Oh, and I have the clicker. So, reminder, we're meeting at the Campado Cellar tonight, 7:30. Emerging professionals and non-emerging professionals welcome. So yeah, hopefully see you there. I'm gonna keep it, move straight away to the roundtable discussion. My name is Álvaro Roel Bellot, and I'll be chairing the session together with my colleague Bruna. And the aim of this session is to explore the opportunities and challenges faced by early career restoration, ecological restoration professionals. And to explore this topic, we have three panelists, Caroline Joge, Artur Cupertino, and Ryan Campbell. So thank you all for joining us today. And in terms of format, we'll start with a few questions to the panelists. And I appreciate we're running a bit behind schedule. The session, it ends at 3. I know in some of the programs, it says it ends a bit earlier, but we'll be finishing at 3. So I'll move on straight to the questions. I've mentioned your names, guys, but if you could please introduce yourselves, tell us a bit about your current job, and also your career journey until getting there. Maybe we could start on the end, Caroline.
No problem. Yeah, okay, it's working. Hi, I'm Caroline Joge. I'm a research engineer at French National Institute for Research in Agriculture, Food and the Environment in France. And currently I'm working on support to public policies, especially on offsetting project, how we can assess the ecological relevance of offsetting project, and how can we share the knowledge that we have in restoration ecology, scientific teams to the local environmental authorities and to precisely the Ministry of Ecology, French Ministry of Ecology. My path of life is quite complicated because I'm an engineer in genetics, but I also had a background in sociology. So I always try to bridge links between scientific communities and practitioners or public, or the public people. And I worked a bit in marine microbiology, and then I moved on to some project management on how to link communities to the scientific research that were led in their area, and now support to public policies.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Artur, would you like us to tell us a bit about your career journey and what you're doing at the moment?
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being here. So I'm Artur. I'm a Brazilian, and I'm doing my PhD research now in Portugal. So I have a background in ecology and limnology. I did my master in Brazil, and when I moved to Portugal, I always thought that my work in ecology in Brazil was too focused on the academic research, and I always felt like a lack of participation and application in society. So I changed for a different field. So I'm now doing my PhD in forest engineering. But the good thing about ecological restoration is that I can merge the two fields, so I can still focus on ecological process and so, but also doing some application and giving back a bit faster the results that we get from from our research to the society. So I'm doing my PhD research in the riparian ecosystems restoration and the monitoring with field and remote sensing indicators. So it's good to kind of have the two fields merged together in the research.
Very interesting. Ryan?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I could start. Yeah, Ryan Campbell. So if you were here for the presentation, I work with the Team Up project now, but I think Alvaro was able to raise the bar a little bit of what younger means. I'm a little older, but I do have the practical experience of ecological restoration and land management. I was doing that for 10 years in the United States before I moved to Germany. And a little bit, it just started back in the 1980s. It was all Save the Earth was the main motto. of the time when I was growing up, and that meant something to me and to a lot of people. And I think we didn't really know what that meant when I was younger, but then around 2002 or so, I started to studied art actually and photography, and have this despair for the world. Everything's just negative news, and continues to be a lot of negative news about what's happening to the environment, but how do you save the earth? And then I was introduced to the practice of ecological restoration back at that time. It was kind of a light bulb moment for me to know that you can actively go against the despair by collecting more seeds of native plants, or using prescribed fire on more acres, or controlling more invasive species, or working with more volunteers. So after that time, I had some internships and went back to school to get my bachelor's and master's degrees in plant ecology and biology. Then I had the opportunity at that moment not to go down the academic path further, but to actually, there was a place that I did an internship at that they need the program, the ecology program, the restoration ecology program was sort of falling apart. The leaders were a little bit, had left or were transitioning into retirement. So I saw an opportunity to help create a full-time ecologist position, and that's what I did for 10 years, as I was managing about 1,500 hectares of tallgrass prairie and woodlands and wetlands, 50 kilometers west of Chicago, and rebuilding that ecology program before moving to Germany. So that's kind of my path.
Career path. Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing those kind of like paths to where you are right now. So you all come from different sectors. So Caroline, you're more on the policy side of things. Artur, you're more academia, and Ryan, you're here talking more about your like practitioner experience. Could you share with us a bit of what you think the main challenges, opportunities, and skills someone needs to kind of like build a career in one of those sectors? I know we started on the other side before, but maybe we go with the middle now, Artur.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that at least for me, with my background in South America, I always felt that here in Europe the opportunities are much bigger than the challenges, because we have a lot of opportunities and projects, especially now after the approval of the nature restoration law and so. So I think that the opportunities are much greater for doing research and applying the results that we've got in the academia. But also I think the challenge is a bit the same, in the same way, because we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of new things to do, that this is also a challenge to focus on one thing and to find what is the best way to do the research and do your work there. Mm-hmm. So I think the skill is also connected to that. I think a good skill to have nowadays is to be able to adapt to this different type of opportunities and challenges that are increasing, but also giving you a lot of things to think about and to work.
Okay. Caroline, Ryan, I don't know if any of you want to jump in there.
Okay. I think support to public policies is a very specific domain, because you don't really have a perfect path of studies to go there, because you really need to talk the different languages of different domains, people that are on more political fields, people that are more technical, that are more scientific, and so there is no royal path of studies to come to the position that I have, for example. So I think the main skills to develop, and you have to develop it on the way, if I can say so, is being able to talk these different languages and being kind of the translator between all the different interests that you see, because most of the time these different persons cannot talk, like quite literally, because they don't have the same interest and they don't have the same vocabulary, for example. So it's very important to be able to connect people, and and being this translator is the most important thing in public policies, and also not getting mad when people are starting to
not understanding each
be
other.
mean. Yeah.
Makes sense. Ryan, does that relate to your experience as a practitioner?
Yeah, a little bit. I would say the first skill that you have to have as a practitioner, and probably in any field really, is with restoration ecology, is that hope and optimism are a prerequisite. you have to be hopeful that the work you're doing makes a difference, and you have to be optimistic that it does matter. Listening, I think listening is a really big skill when you're in the practice of working in restoration projects to different stakeholders, to non-traditional stakeholders, to farmers, to understand different perspectives. That's definitely a skill to have. Making your case understood, and not just listening to others, but then really having a good strategy so that others who don't come from your background, who don't come from your expertise, can understand why these ecological restoration projects matter. The biggest challenges, I would say, in the practice of ecological restoration for practitioners is probably for most people with bachelor's degrees and higher, is to find the sweet spot. You have to probably be okay at the beginning of your career with labor, with more hands-on, as opposed to everybody's going to want to go out there and make a difference with the knowledge they have. But sometimes you just have to do the work first.
Okay.
And then you can find that sweet spot of doing the work and putting your knowledge and making management decisions. That comes later. I was a little bit lucky where I sort of jumped right in and was able to use both my brain and my hands at the same time. But you have to kind of be okay with the work at first. The pace of change, I think, can be a little bit of a challenge because sometimes there are outdated mindsets, and the processes of how change happens can be very slow. So you have to just you might be really enthusiastic, but you have to sort of just understand that to change minds takes time, and to change ecosystems and rebuild ecosystems takes time. And of course, funding. Lack of funding is a challenge. If I can just mention an opportunity or two, the opportunity to educate others. So I worked at a physics laboratory owned by the federal government outside of Chicago called Fermilab. It's well known for its tallgrass prairie restoration, sister laboratory to SERE in Switzerland. They have a long history there. There's engineers and physicists and architects. There's all kinds of people that do not understand or maybe don't have a background in biology as much as we do. But there's an opportunity to change minds. And there's an opportunity to teach them that ecology matters, that restoration ecology matters, that doing ecological restoration on the property is also a part of the scientific mission. So, that's it.
Yeah, and I think what is interesting, it's more like what you said, having your hands directly in the dirt, is also working on things that are not rewarding. Not personally rewarding. For example, when you're doing project management, you don't really have like lights on you, and you're not really like a super researcher, and you're not gonna have all the honors. But the work that you do is very important because you are kind of backstage, and you're like trying to make everything being super smooth. But it's not always super rewarding. But it's the collective force and movement that is important, and so accepting that sometimes you can be on the lights and just that the global project is going forward is what is the most important thing.
Yeah, that was really interesting though. Like it sort of feels like there's kind of like threads connecting the different fields, the challenges with like translating knowledge, also kind of like deciding what questions should we ask next, and also just being patient and taking your time to kind of like get to a level where maybe you can shine a bit more, or you can use your knowledge a bit more. Thank you for sharing that. So we're in a conference, and a big part of conferences is networking, right? I wanted to kind of like get your thoughts on how important networking is or has been for your career, and also what are your tricks for to do it effectively and kind of like get to know the people you need to know. Caroline, you seem ready.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I can measure really the importance of networking in my career, but what I would say is that I think that careers is mostly about luck. But you can kind of push your luck if you are really always willing to talk to different people, understand what they do, and this is, for me, networking is more about like getting to know people, what they do, understanding new fields, and then it makes everything easier if you want to change the field that you're working on, for example, because then you have like the basics and you have some contacts that you can ask to have precisions or career opportunities, for example. So for me, it's everything is about being open-minded, to people in general, and not always thinking about what this person can brings you in terms of opportunities, but just meeting people and being like, I don't know, this is nice to always discover new jobs, new domains, and meeting people is a way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it opens opportunities. Naturally, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really nice take on networking. I think I feel sometimes we get really caught up on like I need to know this person because he's the one that knows about this that I care about. But yeah, sometimes it's more interesting to kind of like be open and
yeah, most of the time you try to like talk to the most experienced person of the field and the top shiny person. But the thing is that most of the time it's not the most interesting people because probably this person doesn't really have time to talk to you. Don't really. Maybe they are just like big-headed and they don't really want to talk to you. But then talking to everybody really gets you to know the field more in details. And so it's always nice to be open to everyone, and even if it's super different than what you're doing.
Arthur?
Yeah. No, just a compliment because I think what Ryan said that it's important to go in the field and get your hands dirty because it's important also that you get to know a lot of people that are there and a lot of them also want to be listened because we always want to list the people that know more than us and so, but especially from the academia, but when you are in the field, there are a lot of people there that want to be listened and want to be heard. So it's important also to this part of the networking in the field.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, anything to add?
That's right. I think networking is important because it gives you a chance to help others be successful, and it's you get to listen to their story, as Arturo said, and Caroline is it's not necessarily the highest person that with the most publications or the well-known names. Sometimes they're really helpful as well, but you're also it's going to conferences like this and meeting people that are sort of outside of the mainstream. When you help others be successful by networking, I think you're not just trying to gather information from them, but you're trying to help. Networking is a two-way street, right? So it's not just taking from them, it's giving back to them. And when we're successful by sharing the resources we might have with them so they can be successful, then we all win. I think the strategies to do that is one of those things I was going to suggest at a conference. What I always like to do is I like to sit at the table at lunchtime or after dinner drinks with a table of people that I've never met before and just introduce myself and
jumping in the pool.
Yeah, right. And just say hello to people and not just staying with the people that I know already, but getting to know people and being human with others is really important because then you can understand what's driving them and what's motivating them, and then maybe there's some synergies or some connections there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I can just add something, is when networking is not just good for ourselves personally, but it's also good just for the field of research, because knowing each other better is also exchanging about practices and making everything better and making our field of work a better place internationally, even when you're in conference like this. And I think this is super important that it stays open to new people, new ideas, and networking is a way to do this.
Thank you very much. I think those perspectives were really, really interesting. I'm a bit aware of time, but I have a final question for you before we open it to the audience. And this, I kind of want to get your top 3 tips for someone just starting their career in. Perhaps we could do it kind of like focused on kind of like the sector you're working in. But yeah, like. Your top 3 tips for someone starting a career in your sector. Ryan, would you like us?
Sure. My top 3 tips for starting a career in restoration practice. Build bridges, learn by doing, and strive towards success. So building bridges is, again, networking, but it's all about relationships. To be successful, as Sebastian said, there are so many different, in the real world, there are so many different stakeholders and so many different people. You can build these bridges and nurture these relationships so that you are successful. And it's not just fake relationships, it's something that you actually want to work with them on and want to understand their perspectives, because they might not be motivated by biodiversity, but they might be motivated when you explain it in economic terms, why restoration can be important. It's an investment, not just a cost. Mm-hmm. Learning by doing means to everybody not in restoration practice, if you are in restoration, in research, in academia, in policy, and you're not doing volunteer work or you're not involved somewhere, locally in your region to get involved, to maybe on a Saturday or something, to go volunteer and to actually get to know people and to go do work to restore ecosystems in your local region. That's good for networking, it's good for your own well-being, and yeah, it's good to help understand some of the parameters and limitations of practice. And striving towards success basically means success is not always imminent, it's not always guaranteed. You have to be prepared for setbacks, you have to be prepared for things that are not anticipated, that fall out from underneath you. But if you continuously strive towards success, then eventually you'll make those little achievements.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Artur?
I think I'm not really good at giving advice, but I'll try to give some tips.
Please try.
So I think at first it's important especially in ecological restoration research, to start small. So choose a field to work on, choose a site that you like, an ecosystem that you prefer, or even a question that you want to answer, and then focus on that and try to see how restoration have been done there and what are the challenges that are associated with this specific question or field. And then go broad, go for the literature, do a research, see how things have been done there with this specific site, and how things can go well or bad to this type of question or site. And of course, the last one is, I think it's every research that you can do is to expect bad results, because things aren't going to go
amen to that
as well. Yeah. How you expect it. So expect bad results and be okay with them, because they will probably help you in the future, and then also help other people also in the future.
Yeah. As a scientist myself, I find that great advice. Caroline?
I would say be open to new opportunities, because you don't know what is going to happen in the future. So just be open to what is coming. Don't hesitate to apply to jobs, even if it seems quite far from what you are doing now, because in support to public policies, there is no, as I said, there is no perfect profile of people. So anybody is welcome to apply and see if it's gonna work, and then just talk and listen to people. And this is how you get good at support to public policies, because then you learn and you're able to do this translation work that I was talking about.
Amazing. Thank you very much for answering my questions. Hopefully some people in the audience have questions themselves. So yeah, I would like to give the audience now the opportunity to ask our panelists some questions, if you have them.
Hello, my name is Beverly Zader. I'm from the University of Waterloo. I'm an early career restoration ecologist. I was wondering if any of you have experience with imposter syndrome, or if you know what that is, and what your advice is for overcoming that. So, thank you.
So, imposter syndrome. Anyone familiar with it?
Yeah,
Caroline?
I think I'm super familiar with this one, so I can probably answer the question. The thing is, as I said before, always remembering that there is not a perfect person that would do the job better than you. This perfect person exists only in your heads. And the perfect person to do this job is you, because you're here and you're trying to do it as best as you can. So I think it's the best way to tackle this, but there is no perfect recipe for tackle this problem. But I think, yeah, always remembering that you are as good as anyone, and you're an intelligent person. Even if you arrive in a field when you know nothing, you're gonna learn. And I think always being attached to this thought of I can learn anything, so I'm not an imposter, I'm just gonna learn, and then I won't be one when I would have learned.
Ryan or Artur, you want to add anything? Yeah.
No, I think one thing that is important is also that no one knows more about your work than yourself, so you can be okay with that. So about this specific work, you are the expert in the world. So.
Yeah.
If I can quote Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, he said, "Fake it till you make it." But when I started my position at Fermilab, I was just at the university at the master's level, And I had some pretty large shoes to fill after the people who were there had left, and that was overwhelming and a little bit intimidating. But you do have those skills, and I think people make the choices to hire somebody, and you go into a new position with things to learn, but you also bring a lot to the table, and it just takes time to sort of harmonize those two things together. And as I think those that did the hiring process and chose to hire a person realize that you might not know everything on day one, but you have the skills to adapt and learn and grow and make it better. So, yep.
Yeah, I think the most important skill that you have as a person and as a professional is not the one that are on your resume. It's the one that you have that are, as Ryan was saying, adapting, learning fast, being dedicated to your work. And this you can see on a resume, but I'm sure you have it in yourself. And you have to convince yourself that you have it.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, thanks. Louise Wilman, Netherlands. A question. I would like to flip the question. You were asking for tips for early career researchers, but what kind of tips do you have for people that think can be a mentor? What is an ideal mentor for an early career researcher? What are you looking for?
So mentors. What? Artur, any?
Yeah, I mean, my supervisor is here, so a bit of pressure. But I mean, at least for me, I was always lucky with my supervisor. So I think a good mentor is that person that can listen to you and actually really listen what you are saying and helping you find your way. I think it's a good mentor to guide you by listening also.
I would say that it's finding the sweet spot between autonomy and support, and always asking the person in which spot she or he is now. Like, are you in too much autonomy or are you in too much support? And how do you want me to push the cursor on one side or another?
That applies for parenting as well. I try to do that with my two small kids, is how much autonomy and how much do I have to parent.
Okay. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I think, listening, right, is listening to understand the needs of the students and then also try to provide them with the support structures they need to be successful. That doesn't just apply to students. I had a concrete example is we had a volunteer who in his previous career was a biochemist and retired and came to Fermilab he was really passionate about dragonflies and damselflies and odonates. And we just basically opened the door for them. That's what you do. You open the door and you let them in. And this person collected 5 years of data on their own accord. They were passionate about it, and they collected some really interesting data for us, found some really rare species, which helped in the regional conservation. But you figure out what the person's strengths are, and then you just give them the tools that they need to be successful. So listening and providing tools when necessary.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? No?
Yeah? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
If I still can? I was hiding. Well, thank you for your very interesting stories. I have just a simple question, because compared to me, you're still young. And when I was young, I was really concerned, and still am, about the massive crisis we have, the biodiversity crisis and the climate crisis, etc. So what do you think? Should the young generation go to the barricades? Would you go to the barricades? So what's your motivation? Or do you have another thrive in life?
By go to the barricades, you mean run and hide, or?
No, I mean go on the streets and
okay.
Because I'm very moved when people do that. So
yeah. To protest. Right.
Again, I think it's sweep spots. Going on riots is complementary with doing job and support public policies. Because I'm working with the government doesn't mean that I have other means of actions as a citizen. So I think, it's just a complementary way of acting against this crisis. One that is more professional and with the government, and one that is less. But I see no contradiction in those two.
I could just say there was a keynote address at the Society for Conservation Biology earlier this year, and talking exactly about that, about how scientists, one of the false assumptions is that they assume that the data they present on the crises will automatically lead to honest politicians making honest actions, and sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. But the overwhelming message was that it's important, I think, for scientists as citizens, in your work, sure, unbiased professionals, but as citizens to use your voice and to speak up and to remain active and engaged so that others can be aware that it's not just, citizens drive movements like that, and it takes an army, it takes thousands. So if we can be a part of that, I think that's good.
Arthur, anything quick to add?
No, I was just thinking that at least we are always, roller coasters. Like we are up there, okay, let's go to barricade and fight for it. But then a week after, we're like, we are doomed and there is nothing to do. But I think we need to find the balance between those two.
Well, thank you very much. I don't think we have time for more. But can I please get the audience to join me on thanking our speakers with an applause, please?
Thank you.
And yeah, okay, they're asking me if we all can take a picture together as well. But first, I wanted to thank the audience for their questions. Those have been really nice. And thank our speakers in the previous session, and Bruno and Patricia for chairing the session with me. Thank you very much. And quick picture, and then you're free to go to your half-day tours. And if you're interested, see you tonight at the Gunpowder Cellar of Tartu, 7:30.